Welcome to a Thursday edition of Morning Cuppa Hockey presented by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We have now hit 2 bets in a row this week, looking for 3 tonight, but we'll get into our bet of the night a little bit later. We do have James van Riemsdyk of the Detroit Red Wings joining us in any minute, actually, fresh off of a 4-1 win last night on TNT over the Florida Panthers. And then we'll have Justin Williams, the special assistant to the GM and former NHLer from the Carolina Hurricanes, joining a little bit halfway through the show. I'm not going to kick it over to Colby, although that is Colby Cohen. I'm Jonny Lazarus. I'm going to send it right over to JVR. But before I do that, I do want to give a quick word from our sponsor, Prime. So this segment with JVR is a presentation of Prime Video and Monday Night Hockey, your exclusive home to the NHL, streaming games nationally in Canada every Monday. Prime Monday Night Hockey has the Canadians hosting the Sabres next Monday. So check out the link in the description for the Monday Night Hockey schedule on Prime Video this season. Also on Prime Video, you can check out Face Off Inside the NHL Season 2, which has been unreal so far. Still haven't finished it, but got to get to it. But with that, let's bring on JVR. Reamer, how you doing fresh off the win last night?
Yeah, good. Good morning, guys. How you guys doing?
All is good. All is good. Colby, you kick it off. I don't want to get made fun of off the bat.
You looked about 20 years old last night, the way you were moving around out there, seeing that first power play time, doing your thing in and around the net. And I got to say this, though, because there was the one play on the I think it was on the 5-on-3 where you made that backhand pass and then the puck moved across the sort of slot. And I think it was, I can't remember who missed that chance, but it started on your stick. And I thought to myself, thinking about your career, you are probably light, I'd say 200 assists over your 17-year career, because you don't get any help with those grade A berries. I mean, the breakaways you used to set up in Philadelphia, never fell for you. I don't know what it is, man, but it was a great play. You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, for sure. I think, again, in that scenario, too, it was nice to get out there with those guys. And obviously still kind of getting the chemistry down and the tendencies down with some of the guys. And I think you only really get that through some game reps. And, I feel more comfortable, obviously after missing some time in training camp, but feel like I'm starting to get more and more comfortable out there, too, which is great. And I think, again, just getting into this year with the Olympic schedule, lots of games in a short amount of time. So I think that's just good for me to get right into it and just keep kind of building my game from there.
Jonny, let me just follow up on what you said before you jump in. So you did obviously miss some time in training camp. Congratulations on the birth of the twins. And I know they talked about it on TV last night, so we don't want to waste too much time on it other than telling you that we love you and congratulations. But for a guy who's been around as long as you have, and someone that I personally know to be very meticulous about everything that he does, how difficult was it not having the opportunity to have a full training camp? You obviously spent some time away with your family during the birth of the twins. So a little bit of a different look for you heading into the season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously in that sort of scenario, just wanted to make sure everyone was fully healthy and taking care of all that first and foremost. But I think, again, just in regards to experience from playing a long time, I think you kind of are able to really figure out the most important things as far as what you need to do to stay ready and prepared. And I'm lucky enough at home to have a pretty substantial setup as far as my gym and recovery space and stuff like that. So I think that definitely helped a lot. And again, just being in Minnesota, there's pretty much rinks every mile, it feels like. So again, it was, even though I was taking care of a lot of stuff on the family front, there were still times I was able to shoot out on the ice and try to stay as sharp as I could. So I think, again, definitely my experience helped on that part.
And what was the reception like, Reamer, when you kind of stepped into the room? Obviously, you're a veteran. You got guys like Patrick Kane in there, who I know obviously from coming up together. But any young guys that you've kind of gravitated towards so far? And also, I do want to say my congrats as well on the twins. I don't want that to be remiss.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Thank you. I mean, the whole organization just has been incredible with me. Right up top with Steve Yzerman and head coach Tom McClellan, like just how supportive they were during the whole thing at home. And I was obviously missing some time, and they didn't want me to feel that pressure as far as just taking care of the things I needed to take care of first and foremost, and taking care of my family and all the health stuff. So that was incredible how supportive they were. But yeah, I think that's been a fun part about all this, especially getting to play with a guy now like Kaner. It's been a while since we played on the same team together. I think since the World Cup in 2016. But he's someone I've remained really good buddies with over the courses of our career. So it's been really fun to get back out there with him. And I'm trying to think, yeah, as far as some of the younger guys. I sit in the locker room next to Lucas Raymond and Marco Kasper, so that's been great to get to know those guys a little bit better. And actually, with Kasper, he's an Austrian who knows one of my favorite teammates, Michael Raffel. So we've been laughing a little bit about him and how much of a character he is too. So it's funny how these things start to come full circle, where you're playing with these younger guys, and they looked up to some of these former teammates of mine, and just like the different degrees of separation with that. So it's funny to be on kind of this end of it now.
Where's Roth playing these days, Reamer? Because he is, we were neighbors in Waterfront Square in Philly for all those years. Like, he's such a great dude, and I remember when he went back overseas. But is he still kicking around over in Europe right now?
Yeah, so he played in Switzerland the last 2 or 3 years, and I think now he's playing back in Austria. I think him and his brother are playing on the same team. So
oh, that's cool.
So yeah, he's still playing back over there. So still going after it. But yeah, we had a lot of fun in Philly, and between all the time I spent with him and Scotty Lawton together, that was quite a trio we had for those years in Philly.
So you mentioned Patrick Kane, and it's funny, like, I guess you probably haven't played on a team with him in a day-to-day setting since the national program a zillion years ago. And I think about some of those 2-on-2 basketball games that we used to get into, and I feel like you and Kaner always played on the same team. It'd be like Shaddy and I going against you and Kaner in the driveway. I don't remember whose billet house that was. Might have been his, but
it was his, I think. Yeah.
Now that you're back with him on a day-to-day basis, I mean, last night, obviously, he has that absolute snipe. What is it like just sort of re-seeing him up close and personal? Like, I got to do it in Chicago a little bit as a broadcaster, and I just, it's incredible to watch this guy go out and still try to get better every single day and have that mentality. And he said that in his post-game interview with TNT last night. There's still things I can work on. There's still things I can get better at. And you're sitting here and you're like, this is the best American who's ever played, and listen to him speak. And I did say before the season, I didn't think that he should make the Olympic team. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. I hope he does, because I think the world of him as a hockey player. But now that you're back in that Kane bubble of or aura, like, has anything surprised you or stood out to you about the way that this guy is still going and the level he's still going at?
Yeah, I don't think anything has really surprised me with that, but I think the one thing that still sticks out the most with him is just how much he loves the game and how much time he's willing to put in, and just kind of always working at his craft, whether that's like you mentioned, being on the ice and working on different things, scoring stuff or skating things, whatever that might be, or just different ways to attack training or recovery and stuff like that. So he's a hockey lifer for sure, and just loves the game. And that's something that I think we all remember from when we played with him at the U.S. program, just how much he loved the game and seemingly was a rink rat. So that's obviously served him well, and it's still pretty impressive to see again, just how much he loves being at the rink.
Reamer, is this the first time you've ever been on a team with a guy like that wears the C who's like significantly younger than you? Like, Dylan Larkin's my age, and I've always wondered, like, that dynamic, right? When you have, and obviously he's well respected as one of the better captains in the NHL, but for you and like Kaner and guys who've been around for so long, and having a guy who's not even I don't even know if he's 30 yet, wearing the C, just wondering that dynamic, because obviously you've played with captains like Giroux and was it Marchand wearing the C in Boston when you went there?
Yeah.
Not sure who it was in Toronto when you were with the Leafs, but I imagine this is probably the first time. Yeah, Dion. So imagine the first time that you're significantly older, and I'm wondering how that like dynamic works with you and the captain and communication and things you can even teach him.
Yeah, I think with him, and I've gotten to know him for a long time now, just from with some of the World Championships, and we were on the same line actually. I think the one time in Slovakia for most of that tournament, so had a lot of fun playing with him. But yeah, like he's an amazing captain with just the way that he kind of sets the tone and just brings everybody into the fight. With the way he plays, like he's just will stick his nose into anything. I think even in that game in Toronto, I was kind of laughing with him at the end of the game. It felt like he had a little bit of a battle going out there with almost every other guy on the Leafs. So yeah, it's again, like you get a chance to see guys in some of these like shorter tournaments, like World Championships, and get to know a little bit about what they're all about. But to get a chance to play with him now and just to see how he kind of handles himself and just how he just goes about his business and. Yeah, he does an amazing job really setting the tone for the group and leading the way and bringing guys into the fight and stuff like that. So he's definitely a guy too. When I signed here in Detroit, that I was definitely excited to get a chance to play like a full season with him and get to know him that much better.
Have you been out with him? I heard he's hilarious, Colby. Just a quick follow-up because one of my best friends played at UMass Boston with his brother. And my friend Derek, every time he said Dylan would come visit, he'd like tell people that didn't know him that he played like D3 baseball at Suffolk University or something. He just like come up with the funniest kind of shit. But I've always heard hilarious stories about Dylan Larkin, and I've only gotten to meet him once. But he seems like one of the more underrated funny dudes in the NHL.
No, he's awesome, and yeah, just through some mutual friends as well. Through Nico Pericos is really tight with them, who was Shaddy's. The billet family that he lived with too, so you get to hear some stories over the years as well. So again, it'll be fun to make some of those memories with them this year, and yeah, that's been a fun part about being here in Detroit.
Yeah, whenever I see Larkin, I always think of Nico right away because forever all you would see was those two guys together on social media. I think Larkin has since gotten married and grown up a little. I think Nico finally moved out of the Larkin household, but he's probably doing pretty well on his own. I want to ask you about the goal you scored in Toronto the other night because I think there's almost some irony to that play. You're in Toronto. It's your first goal of the season. Morgan Riley's chasing you down, a guy that I know you spent some time playing with. As a defenseman, you think you have a guy sealed and you think you're pushing him to his backhand, but, you just kind of waited him out. And then at that last second, you get that puck over to your forehand because, he kind of fades out on you. And I'm curious because there is history. And I think at least you and Morgan Riley are pretty good buddies, if I recall. Did you chirp him at all or talk any shit to him about that goal or have any words for him after that? Because that was almost like a duel between two friends, that play.
No, for sure. I think right when I got that puck, like I saw the D his D partner kind of fall a little bit, and I was thinking pass the whole way, and it was a little cat and mouse, I think, as far as he wasn't sure if I was just going to try to take it right to the net or make the play. So I'll definitely have to let him know about that next time I see him. But no, I think the fact that it was a little bit of that hybrid 2-on-1 gave me just that extra room and just it's always any chance to get to score in that building and to play in that building, like it's obviously you guys, I think I've mentioned this before to you guys, but just how much I loved my time there, and it's always a special place for me to go back and play. So to kind of have my first game of the season be in that building, and to get a goal like that and a big win, like that was a nice way to get the year going, and hopefully I can continue to kind of keep the snowball rolling down the hill from there.
Yeah, well, listen, Ice Clubs in our chat says, was JVR scared Riley might cross-check him in the face after that goal like he did to Ridley Gregg last year? Listen, we have high expectations for you on this show. We're expecting 20 goals this year, and we're looking forward to having you join us here, twice a month and hopefully on some sort of every other week basis as you guys push to, get this great franchise back into the playoffs. But we love you. We appreciate you. We're happy everything's good at home, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again in a couple of weeks. Hopefully you'll keep stirring it up a little and giving us good stuff to talk about when we have you on.
All right, amazing. Appreciate it, guys.
All
Thanks,
right,
Reamer. Be good.
Right.
Awesome stuff, Colby. It'd be really cool to have him join bi-weekly, like you said, like we did with Pat last year. And, also really cool to hear from a guy like fresh off of a game last night. Like that's the coolest part of this show, right? Like this guy was playing in the NHL 12 hours ago, which is sick. So cool things to look forward to at JVR. I do want to give a quick word from our sponsor, Parasso, and we'll talk about some of the games last night. Parasso is the most complete choice for shaving and beard care, made in Italy since 1948. Parasso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at parasso-usa.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. We got Justin Williams coming up at 9:30, so 15 minutes until we get to him. Before we do, I do want to talk about the Chicago Blackhawks, Colby. I watched that game last night in St. Louis. Frank Nazar, unbelievable goal to put them up 4-2. Connor Bedard, great game. This Wyatt Kaiser has been a beast. I'm a big fan of his game. Again, a guy like I was not very familiar with going into the season, but after watching the Blackhawks play 2 or 3 times now, like he's a guy who stands out to me. Who else stood out last night? Who scored? Reichel scored the 2 goals, I think. Ryan Green from BU.
Vlasic was an absolute stud last night. 3 apples, just doing his thing. I mean, the amount of times where the puck gets kept alive because of a Vlasic read, a defensive read, his anticipation is it really is top notch. But just let me comment really quick on the Nazar goal, Johnny, because I want to ask you your opinion on this, and we'll let the chat sort of weigh in here. And I know you also have some clips about Bedard you want to get into today. First off, I said on Twitter last night that people doubted Davidson when he made the Nazar and the Rinzel picks. The Rinzel pick, the doubt happened right away. The Nazar pick, the doubter started during his freshman year when he was injured and he didn't play a ton. And then he came back at the end of the year and it just took him a little bit of time to get going. Now we're seeing this guy turn into a superstar.
Look at that.
I know. He's literally celebrating on his own. But here's what I want to say about Frank Nazar, like really watching him closely. And I responded to our pal Singsy on Twitter, who responded to my original tweet. And I said, you don't see many guys whose feet, hands, and brain can all move at that same speed. There are a lot of players in the NHL that can check 1 or 2 of those boxes, their feet, their hands, or their brain. But you don't see that many guys other than the superstars, I'll say it, the E word, the elite players in the National Hockey League, where their feet, their hands, and their brain can all move at like supersonic pace, right? There are not that many of them, right? There's we talk about the McDavid and we talk about McKinnon and, those types of players, Eichel, Makar, Quinn Hughes, like they just have all 3 of those boxes checked, which is, in my opinion, what makes them the elite of the elite. When you're watching Frank Nazar play, you're sitting there now and you're going, well, geez, he's got blazing speed. His hands are incredibly quick and smooth, okay? And his hockey IQ, you watch him play center. You watch the way he supports a puck. You watch the spots he puts himself in. You watch his anticipation, and you go, this is like a 3-tool guy. This is a guy who's hitting all 3 of those boxes. And I think those are potentially the most important 3 when you're talking about talent. What do you think about that? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Chat, do you agree? Do you disagree? Johnny, you're muted right now, so you probably want to make it so we can hear you. But I am curious to see what you think.
Am I back now? You got me?
You're back.
Okay, I was going to say, how could you disagree with that, by the way? Also, on the Nazar goal, too, like, just the recognition he has to realize that Neighbors is a forward, and Biz did a great job breaking this down on TNT last night. But I think that's one of the most underrated skills a player in the NHL can have today, Colby. And I don't really know if this was as much of a thing when you were playing. It was definitely a thing when I was playing, and not to age you, but putting a puck in a player's triangle, right? Like kind of going underneath their stick as they're poking you, right when you're about to shoot it. I think Datsuk was like really the first player I saw that started to do it. And, that was like obviously around the early 2010s or late 2000s, however you want to call that decade. But Nazar doing this with ease and going shelf on Joel Hofer last night.
At that speed.
At that speed. That's what I was going to say. Like, and to watch him do that little shoulder check first, like he knew exactly what he was doing that whole time from the blue line in. You know what I mean? Like that's something that you have to credit him as well. And I also wanted to, Vic, if we can put that goal back up too, I really wanted to highlight the play that Bertuzzi makes on the wall.
Yeah.
Because that play does not happen without Tyler Bertuzzi. Like, he didn't use his stick to bump this puck. His stick is tied up with the defenseman. Not sure who the defenseman was that pinched. And he gets this with his right skate. He bumps it out to Nazar, who is just timing it perfectly, Colby. Like you were saying, his hockey IQ to be low and slow below the puck. If he's above the puck and cheats for offense, he's not able to get that puck as timely as he did. So I don't know if we'll get that goal back up, but if you want to go back and watch the replay on Twitter or something, if you're listening to the show, just watch that little play that Tyler Bertuzzi makes, because I don't know if that gets enough credit that it deserves. It was an unbelievable little kick pass off the wall.
Yeah, no, I did. And I think the TNT guys, I think Eddie, no, it wasn't Eddie O on the late game. It was Panger. Here it is right here. Yeah. Just a little, a little bit of a redirect. Yeah, that was a different goal. But it's okay. Vic, don't worry about it. I think people can go to the app and they can check it out for themselves. But it is a good pickup by you, Johnny, and it's a great play. But again, like, how many centers are too far ahead, too far behind, not timing it correctly? Their speed's not quite where it needs to be. Look,
that was like a morning skate execution.
I'm sure Blackhawks fans enjoyed that game. That's probably one of the better games you've seen out of the Chicago Blackhawks in a while. And I'm dating back to last season. And I think, look, a lot of the conversation has been negative towards Connor Bedard, myself included, by the way. I mean, every time we talk about Bedard, I am always very careful that I say it's obvious that this guy has all-star talent. And I've said it before, he'll be an all-star in the NHL for many years. Is he that elite superstar that's carrying a team? We'll see. But what you've seen in these first few games of the season, and the TNT guys highlighted it last night, and I think you have a clip, Johnny, that you want to roll into the show, is there's just a little bit of a different attitude for him. And he's probably heard all of the people, like I said, myself included, and all of the noise surrounding him. And it looks like he's telling us all, go fuck yourselves. And I appreciate that. And I respect that. Because they have billed him as the guy that is going to save this franchise, right? He is the new Patrick Kane or the new Jonathan Taves, who's going to carry a team through years of potential dynasty number 2. And so far, there's been some good, there's been some not so good, but there's been a lot of noise. And his play last night and the Parayko clip, to me, is the best illustration of it, because it's like the other stuff we know he can do. We know the shot is incredible. We know the hands are incredible, but sort of finding a little bit more. Patrick Kane in his career, never afraid to go into a scrum, never afraid to stick up for a teammate. Not a guy who's been pushed around in his career ever, Patrick Kane. You go back and look. How many big hits has Patrick Kane taken in his career? Not many. I guarantee it, not many.
No.
So if you want to go to some of that stuff you wanted to bring into the show from TNT, Johnny, like, I'll let you tee it up here. But ultimately, good to see. And listen, if in 24 months I got to put my hand up and I have to eat a big fat bowl of crow on McDavid and where the team is headed, I'll be happy to do so. I really
Bedard.
will, because what did I say? McDavid.
Yeah.
Sorry. Because at the end of the day, like, I want nothing more than Kyle Davidson to be successful. I truly want to see Kyle Davidson put a team together that is successful.
But okay, do you remember before the clip, do you remember what I said last year when we had this Bedard conversation? Because I think this was about the Biz breakdown last year, that Biz kind of ranted about Bedard playing pond hockey. That clip obviously was bad last year, and Biz had every right to do that. But everyone saying Bedard is not going to be this, Bedard's not going to be that, Bedard's not the guy. Like, he's 19 years old. Like, everyone seemed to forget about that last year when they were kind of ripping on the kid, and he comes into his third year and now he's got a little fuck you to his game, and all of a sudden everybody wants to change their opinion on him. Like, I think when we build these players up, like the Bedards and, like we're doing to Gavin McKenna right now, the second that they don't pan out to what we say they're going to be, we're so quick to break them down. Like, we want to build them up and then we want to break them down as fast as we can. Like, I do think, and I've done this with Matthew Schaefer, I've built him up, right? Like, in the first 3 games, but I'm not going to be in a rush to break him down. Like, I think everyone needs more patience when it comes to breaking down as much as they need patience when it comes to building up. You told me it's
I don't think anybody was getting on Connor Bedard the first week of the season last year, or the second week of the season, or the third week of the season. Like, I think a lot of the criticism on him started halfway through the year last year, right? And last year was his second year in the National Hockey League, correct? Mm-hmm. So It wasn't overnight, okay? He got a lot of free passes through year number 1, and with him, it wasn't just necessarily like he wasn't producing. There were a number of other scenarios around it. So I hear what you're saying, and I'm not gonna discredit what you're saying or even tell you you're an idiot. But let's just make sure we don't bend timelines here to fit, a storyline. Okay, like that's also important that we don't do that either.
All right, well, let's tee up the clip from Paul Bissonnette last night on TNT talking about the different attitude that Connor Bedard has this season.
I was very critical in a few clips last year of him swinging away, maybe looking a little bit disinterested. Sometimes wasn't crazy about his body language, but from watching this game from start to where we are now, his compete level is through the roof. He's winning stick battles, puck battles. He's taking physical abuse, laughing, saying, hey, you ain't going to change anything about the way I'm approaching this one. And this is the play he ends up making. The biggest one being Parenko trying to water ski off of him. And then they kind of josh back and forth up the ice. And he ain't backing down. We're talking about Colton Parenko, a 6'5" defenseman who, could probably pump Connor Bedard's eyes shut. But he doesn't need to fight. He just needs to play hard, play between the whistles. This is it right here. Like, look at Bedard. Give him a whack back. I love that. He doesn't have to drop the gloves with him, but he can compete and stay engaged. And you're even to see it as they go back up the ice. Like, he still wants a piece of him. Like, he's going to go right back after him here. Watch this. I love that. Like, Connor Bedard looks like a completely different player this year.
Yeah, well, this was what he said. Changed from last year to this year, right? Standing up for each other. Not going to take any bleep, even if they're a little bigger, or in Colton Parenko's case, a lot bigger.
And Colby, just to add to that too, first of all, great clips. I mean, that one play he made off the wall where Kairu's on him, then he makes another move around that Blues forward and slips it to Levshunov coming down from the blue line. That was such a subtle play too, so sick. But I want to add one thing to that clip, because after the game, Bedard and Nazar were on with the panel, and Connor Bedard said, we don't want to win in 3 years. We want to win now. And I feel like people would look at that quote and probably laugh at it, because the Blackhawks, obviously everyone knows like technically where they are, but the way they've played, there's no reason to laugh at that statement. Like, they've backed up that statement. Like, they're showing that they have the fuck you. They're showing that they have the skill, that they're willing to do those things that we just showed, that Biz talked about. And granted, they're probably not a team who will make the playoffs, but for them to have that attitude, I support it. I wouldn't have supported it last year with how they, came out and how they looked. But the first couple of games here this year for Chicago, like I told you last week, the vibes feel different. And you said whatever you said about vibes, but
probably nothing good.
Yeah, but I'm not going to sit here and say I think the Blackhawks should make the playoffs, because I don't. But I like the attitude that they have.
Can we just also call out something that I think needs to be called out? The Blackhawks goaltending situation is a lot different this year.
Yeah,
you have Spencer Knight now for a whole year, who seemingly started how he finished with the Blackhawks last year, and Arvid Soderblom or Blom, I don't know what you're calling him these days.
I think Bloom.
I was there doing television in the early days of this guy's career, where every other day we were told we had to call him something different. And I remember it being like a total debacle. But he finally looks like a National Hockey League goaltender. He struggled immensely through the first couple of years in Chicago. And I will give Kyle Davidson, I will give, who's the goalie coach in Chicago? Oh my God, he's such a great guy. He had a good career.
I have no idea.
I'm drawing a blank on his name. Jimmy Waite. There we go. Jimmy Waite. Okay. He said, listen, I see something in this guy. So just be patient. Because as the TV guys, we used to talk to him, and Jimmy Waite would say, like, just pump the brakes, and there's something there with this guy. And I'm telling you right now, like, I'm not saying he's ever going to be a starter, because I don't think that, but now on the nights where your number one goalie's not in, he's going in the net, and he's probably not going to steal you hockey games, but at least he looks like a National Hockey League goaltender. And when you're playing in front of a guy who's at least making the saves that he should, and then the other nights you're playing in front of a guy that's making the saves he should and more, it gives you a little bit more opportunity to play free as a hockey team. You're not going to be down and chasing every game. So do I think they're a playoff team? No. Do they look better this year? Yeah. And only an asshole would sit here and say they don't look better this year. I mean, come on. Like,
at least you can admit it.
Listen, when a team
I'm just
is
fucking with you.
playing
I'm just
well,
fucking with
like I stayed up and watched that game last night, and how can you
fun.
watch that game and not say that? So, all right, let's get to our next guest here, Jonny. Read him into the show, because this is a great guest to get, and the timing is perfect to have him on the show, because we got questions, and they're not so much all about hockey. We got questions for Willie, so read him into the show.
Yes, we do. And Justin Williams will be presented by Uber Eats. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins, if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip. Before, during, and after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. So let's read our Uber Eats stat of the day. And these are a bunch of stats, because we got Mr. Game 7 joining the show. And Justin Williams in Game 7s is 8-1. He has 7 goals in Game 7s, which is the most all time, and 15 points in Game 7s, which is the most all time. So without further ado, for the first time, let's bring on Mr. Game 7 himself, Justin Williams. Welcome to the show, and good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. Howdy, fellas. How we doing this morning?
We're pumped to have you. I'm
right.
curious to ask you something right off the bat, if I may. Colby, should I just get right into it?
Oh, you got to get right
me.
into it. We're dying to know about this, and it's not hockey related, Willie.
Okay, so the chat's been asking it
I'm
all
a little
morning.
nervous, but okay.
The chat's been asking it all morning. I'm curious, what are the qualifications? Because you played over 1,200 games in the NHL. You won a couple cups. But where do you draw the line, or where does it come to fruition for you to get your own hot chicken stand in an NHL arena? Because Willie's Hot Chicken, I've heard, is quite the hit at the Lenovo Center.
Yeah, so I've had a lot of questions about this because it kind of came over the last 3-4 months. An idea came to me from the Hurricanes and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing this?" With these arenas, we wanted it to make hey, you're going to the Lenovo Center. Oh, you got to try Willie's Hot Chicken. They have little things like this in other arenas, and we kind of wanted it to hopefully find a little niche market for Willie's Hot Chicken here, and it's been fun so far. There's wrinkles just like any restaurant is opening up that we'll have to clean up, but it's actually been a lot of fun.
Is it worth the hype?
It's good. It's good. It certainly is good. We had some really long lines that people had to wait a little bit longer for their food than I wanted it to, but we'll iron those things out. It's some good chicken with some slaw and some pickles, with some hot sauce, depending on your taste. And there's a couple different levels, and it's pretty good.
Well, we've got D. Ely in the chat says the chicken's awesome, and we know he goes to games, so he's probably had a chance to have it. Look, I saw Rod Brind'Amour crushing the fries. I can't imagine that guy eats a lot of French fries, so they must not have been bad, because everything we know about Rod Brind'Amour is hours and hours and hours in the gym, eating perfectly clean. So seeing him sit there and eat French fries and say that they're the best ones he's ever had, that's a pretty big endorsement from a guy who's probably keeping it pretty on the straight and narrow with his diet.
That is true. He keeps it tight for sure. But I brought those into the room and he tried one and then he just turned around and he tried another one and he said, "Hey, leave those things in the coach's room." So it was good. They're pretty good. They're called blade fries. They're actually really, really good.
Yeah, that's cool, man. This is fun. Like, it's cool to see guys that are so beloved in markets, like, just getting back involved. And I bet people are just like, oh my God, like when you're out there, probably like around it during a game, people are probably absolutely loving that. So we had to start with that.
Behind the grills. The first day the line was really long and I looked and I was like, man, I got to get back there. So I put the gloves on, wash my hands, put the gloves on and started handing out orders and moving it pretty good. I brought my daughter back there. So we got some pics with a lot of fans with me behind the scenes there. And it's fun. If you're putting your name on something, I don't know about you guys, but I'm sure you're the same way. You probably want it to be pretty good. You want it to be a success. So I'll do what I can to make sure that this goes well and people are happy with the product they get.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit to hockey because, the Carolina Hurricanes off to a great start this year. You have the title of special assistant in the organization, and we got a chance to sit and talk at the Beanpot. I don't know if it was 1 or 2 years ago, just about some of the stuff going on. And I'm curious, like, you brought in some new faces this year, and the early returns have looked really good. And I'm just curious from your perspective, like, did you expect some of these guys to click right away? Because sometimes it can take time when a guy like Keandre Miller, who's only ever played in one place, comes to a new team, or a guy like Ehlers is in Winnipeg for such a long time in his career. Now he comes to a new team. So what have you seen, and how are you feeling about some of those things paying off here in the early season?
Well, obviously feeling really good anytime you start the season 3-0 like we have. It's great. You're feeling good about yourself, and the players are as well. But the last thing you want to do is get on a little cold streak and then be chasing the game the whole year. It feels like you have an uphill climb. If you fall behind early, it's really hard to come back. But with regards to the players that we've brought in, obviously they fit great seamlessly so far. But when you're evaluating and thinking about bringing in these players, you have to think about the fit, right? It's not just, hey, that guy had a lot of goals last year. Hey, that guy, plays some good defense on that team. The question is, can he fit with your team and your system? And, our defense, we ask them to do a lot of skating. We do a lot of asking them to defend one-on-one. And Keandre is number one. He's very rangy. And number two, he's quick. He's a big, quick guy who can close very fast on you. So, in the D zone, that's something that we really weren't worried about. Offensively, did we expect him to score 2 goals his first game? No, but he's fit in great, and obviously Ehlers too. Hoping he gets some chemistry with Aho and Jarvis in the top line, and the three of them together, they're super speedy, and we're hoping they find their way as well, because we feel like over the last couple of years we got a great team, but we're really missing that top line dominance that we're hoping these guys can get.
Yeah, and I'm curious too, Justin, like, when you were there to win the Cup back in 2006, you obviously bringing guys like Doug Waite, Mark Recchi, right? Those are the key additions. And I always love to try to compare. Yeah, right.
No,
like
no big deal
crazy names. I always try to draw a little creative, wild, imaginary comparisons. So I don't know if this is going to be similar, but when you got there in 2004, and I know after the team had been swept in 2002, you guys didn't qualify for the playoffs in back-to-back years, but I'm sure getting to the Cup final in the early years of the organization drew some pressure, right, to win. And I know it's been a little bit of disappointing endings the last couple years, but do you see any similarities from when you got there fresh off of the Stanley Cup final, or maybe a year after, versus now where this team is gone, where there is that pressure to win almost, and you guys are adding those big names, Gensel a couple years ago, now Ehlers, and you're doing everything, Rantanen last year, everything you can to really bring this thing home to Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, we're hoping as an organization here that we're trying to not just have a window, right? Obviously, we have a window right now, but we don't want that window to close. And our job as an organization is to make sure that we have good teams year in, year out, and you want to just get into the playoffs and give yourself an opportunity, right? I mean, that's the main goal. As far as comparisons, I think we have the deepest team. You know, it's early to say, but and I'm a special advisor to the general manager for the Hurricanes, but I really feel like we have the deepest team in the NHL. When I look top to bottom, our lines, they can hurt you. We have Taylor Hall and Robinson and Kotkaniemi playing on our fourth line right now. I mean, and
Yeah, it's
Mark
insane.
Pretty
Jankowski.
good.
So I mean,
Yeah.
this is this is a spot in the lineup where we feel we can really impose our will on other teams with our depth, which is rolling four, keep coming at you. And the game of hockey is a 60-minute game, right? You just keep leaning on them until hopefully they topple over. But I guess getting back to the comparisons and stuff, that's where I was kind of going with depth. That we have a in 2006 we had an unbelievable amount of depth top down our lineup. You just added those names that we said, Doug Waite and Mark Recchi. Those guys were playing on our third line, and this year I feel we have the deepest team that we've had, top to bottom, and we feel that's where we can really take advantage of other teams.
Yeah, and Rex was a perfect and special member of the 11 Bruins team, playing on the third line as well. Like, brought so much to that team. Like, it was so cool to just be sitting there day in and day out and hearing Rex in the locker room and this and that. So he's just such a special guy and player. We have a lot of people that are with us every morning in our chat, Willie, that are Carolina Hurricanes people. They're some of our most active chatters, actually, and a couple of them, Joshua Miller in particular, and friend of the show Colton Davies as well. They want us to talk about Logan Stankoven, and they're asking me to ask you about Logan Stankoven. So I'll phrase the question like this: what is the ceiling for Logan Stankoven? Because his talent is undeniable. His will and his compete level, like, it's fun to watch an undersized guy play that way. So from your point of view, a guy who has literally done it all in this game, where do you see him going, and what do you think the ceiling is for a guy like Logan Stankoven within your system? Well,
that's one thing I've never ever tried to project on anybody is what is their ceiling. Their ceiling is how big they can get. So when we talked to him this summer about potentially maybe moving to center, and he had played it before in his younger days, but not in the NHL, and he was all about it. He wanted to give it an opportunity. He wanted to give it a go, and so right now he's penciled in as a 2C. I don't know how it's going to end, but as you said, he puts the work in, and yes, he's not going to throw guys around in the defensive zone, but he is so tenacious on the puck. He is so smart with the puck, and he's got such a low center of gravity with that snap of his legs and the quickness of his legs that I feel he outbattles and wins a lot more puck battles than he loses. So I don't know. I guess the answer is I don't know, but I'm really excited to see how far he can go with this, because he's going to be an impactful player for us, and for us to be great, he's going to have to be great as well. And I'm really hoping he can take this role and really give us an added element of a dangerous 2C that maybe we've been missing a little bit.
I don't want to make this sound like it's asking a father to pick his favorite kid, but out of the guys that you've gotten to know, maybe some of the newer guys so far that have come into the organization, is there anyone that you're working with maybe extra closely, or someone you've gotten to know a little bit more than others? Either like it could even be like a Keandre Miller who just joined, or one of those younger guys like Stankoven, Jackson Blake perhaps, but anyone that you work closely that you can kind of talk about a little bit?
Well, I mean, when we bring in guys, and obviously we've committed to guys like Jackson Blake and Logan Stankoven, with them both signing 8-year deals over the summer. That's a commitment from us, and that's also a commitment from them as well. So When we look at these players, it's the first thing is competitiveness. Are you competitive? And yes, you don't make it to the NHL about being competitive, but we all know there's a little bit more to the competitiveness when you get there. And those guys have it. I look at Jackson Blake, a guy who, played at UND, North Dakota, and, Hobie Baker, finalist, and coming to play for us. You'd think he was total skill, but it's to compete with him and the tenacious on the puck and the no give up attitude. That's great. We also have a kid that unfortunately we didn't have room for this year, Bradley Nadeau, who played at Maine and had a really
Saw a
great
lot of him.
preseason as well. I worked with him quite a bit and still do, and he's a player that we have a real big respect for, and a player that we feel is going to be a great player in our organization. So we keep adding these guys who are competitive, and I guess not the pick favorites and stuff. My favorites are still the guys that I kind of played with, the Ahos and the Slavens and the Stalls and the Martinooks, the guys that I played with that are still there, who are leading the way for us right now. Svechnikov, don't want to miss him either.
Mm-hmm. You shouted out UND in Maine, and I saw your son Jackson's committed to Wisconsin. Colby called you a Plymouth Whalers legend. Just curious, where would you have gone to college if you could have?
I think going through the process with my son and him committing to Wisconsin, it's certainly a part of me. Just the OHL guys feel they missed out on it a little bit. College, everybody says how great it is and stuff, and I missed it. But I had a great time in junior as well. I don't know. The answer is I don't know. I don't know because I never went through the process myself. But seeing the facilities and the way NCAA hockey has grown over the last 10 years, I mean, every team, you come to the NHL now, and the facilities, honestly, they drop a little bit in what you get. It's wild what these kids get in college with the facilities, the rinks, the experience, and I don't know. I don't know. Playing in Plymouth, which is close to Michigan, those were pretty big draws, and we'd go watch a few games every now and then.
I actually think you're more of a Coburg Cougars legend, and when I never knew that you played there. I always talked to Andrew Raycroft about his days in Wellington, because I played in Syracuse, Willie, so we used to play against the Coburg Cougars, the Wellington Dukes. Also, so I've had a couple of nights in that rink up there in Coburg in my young days. So when I saw that, I'm like, wow, no longer a Plymouth Whaler legend. He's a Coburg Cougars legend.
No way. I played 2 games for Coburg. They cut me when I was like 16. I didn't make the team, so I had to play junior C. So I love the Coburg Cougars now, but I've only played 2 games there, I think. Maybe 3, but I think it was not that many. Certainly not enough to be a legend.
Well, I'm really happy for Jackson. It was great getting to meet him. Mike Hastings, of all the guys that I've met over the years, if my kid wasn't going to go play for Jay Pandolfo in 17 years when he hits 18, he's going to play for Mike Hastings, because he's he's the perfect combination of old school understanding new school. I love everything about the discipline that he teaches and stuff. So I didn't realize that Jackson had committed. At least he went to a red team, so maybe not the right red team, but he went to a red team. And the last thing I want to ask you to kind of build off that, Willie, is I wanted to ask you, and this comes from D. Ely in our chat, who's a Hurricanes guy, about youth hockey in the Raleigh area. I know you've coached your kid coming up. I know you used to bring Rod Brind'Amour in, and you told me he would come and help. And I know your area is now sending players, because I've called you about guys coming up the junior ranks and asked you about players before. So, how cool is it to see the growth of hockey in that area, something you have a huge hand in as a player and now as a coach?
Sure. I think when we won the Stanley Cup in 2006, there was a boom around here. Not only with the city itself, people moving in, but there was a big boom with hockey. It was. You look back at it now, and you're like weird. We had just moved there, and people are like, wow, we have a hockey team. Wow, we won. This is great. And what's this hockey thing all about? And just the amount of growth in the area has been great. And I know we discussed a little bit about it, but we want to do our best here in Carolina to try and keep our good players here. And you're only able to do that with obviously a good program. The Junior Canes have really done a really good job in the area. Rod Brind'Amour coached his son Skylar, who's now up and down with the big Hurricanes before he became the head coach of the big boy Hurricanes, and I'm certainly not going to be a coach of the big boy Hurricanes, but it was really fun coaching these young kids, and I really found myself really enjoying it. And I was able to keep my son here and all the kids that he played with growing up until last year, 16U, and that's something that we're trying to do here in Carolina, and hoping that that players see that it's a good place to play hockey as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, listen, we're thrilled to be able to get you on here, and
Seriously.
we'll be keeping an eye on the Ottawa 67s to see how Jackson Williams, the next wave of Williams is coming up the rankings here. So we'll be keeping an eye on that, and then hopefully I'll be calling his games in the Frozen Four in a couple of years. So that'll be a lot of fun. So thanks for your time today, man. We're grateful.
Thanks, Justin.
Pleasure, boys. You guys doing a great job.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you. Be good. Good luck. Awesome stuff, Colby. Seriously, what an awesome guest. Obviously, Justin Williams.
He's done a bunch of TV before, and he's such a well-spoken guy. I mean, if he wanted to fully go down that path, he probably could have had his pick as to where, who, what, all of that stuff, just because you have a guy who's got the hockey IQ, but he can articulate it. And I think the same for Reamer, by the way. Like, I think those are two of the more articulate guys that can explain about what's going on, rather than just saying, well, so-and-so made a great pass. Or, when you asked him those questions, or I asked him about Stankoven and you asked him about those teams, you didn't get a surface level answer. You get more of an answer that is somebody who can articulate what's really going on in their brain. So that's why I had a feeling he'd be a really, really good guest, just from getting to know him for the last 15 years or whatever it's been. And he certainly didn't disappoint. So to all of our Hurricanes faithful in the chat, we didn't do you guys enough justice when we did our season previews.
Or in the first three games.
We kind of just looked at each other and we said, the Carolina Hurricanes are going to be really good, but we're not going to waste our time until they get to the playoffs, because that's just kind of where we are with them. We need to see this team win in the playoffs. So we didn't give you guys enough love or attention during the early goings here, I guess last week or the week before. So it was awesome to get Willie on and hear him talk about some of that stuff and all of the impact and the things that are going on, going down. And sorry, Clinton, that we didn't ask him about Nikishin. We wanted to be grateful for his time. We didn't want to. The first time we have someone on, we don't want to tell them 20 minutes and keep them for an hour. We usually save that till the second time. We generally do that to everybody else, but we want him to come back. We'll definitely revisit with him, and since it was so seamless, hopefully he'll be willing to come back with us at some point, Johnny.
Yeah, I need to tell him that he still haunts my dreams from that Cup final in 2014 where he won the Conn Smythe against the Rangers. But I will say too, just to add one thing also, Colby, about your question with Carolina and youth hockey. I think it was actually a question from D. Ely that you said from the chat. But my nationals, I played in nationals in 2009. Granted, I was playing AA hockey, but there were still AAA nationals, AA nationals, and it was actually in Raleigh, which is pretty cool. Like that, the USA Youth National Tournament with all the best players was in Raleigh, North Carolina. And that was actually the first time, and you'll appreciate this too, because I think we're going to talk about the Utah Mammoth in a bit, but that was the first time I saw Nick Schmaltz play. He was my age playing for the Chicago Mission, and I watched like the AAA games, as a AA player. And that was the first time in my life where I watched a kid my age and I was like, holy shit, like that kid is sick. I became a fan. Like people, obviously, on our show, people understand that, I played college hockey, but I'm still really a fan at heart. And it's because of those moments, right? Where I was a AA player, not playing against the best players in the world. And I got to watch Nick Schmaltz and I'm like, holy shit, this kid's just different, and that's just always how my upbringing in hockey was. There were kids my age that were just so much better than me that I was fans of. And I've never lost that But I thought it was cool just to tell that story about Nationals being in Raleigh.
Justin Williams just told us he got cut from his junior team. He had to play junior C. And listen, we had JVR on this morning. JVR played for Brick Hockey Club growing up. He didn't play AAA hockey. He went and made the U.S. national team from Brick Hockey Club, not from some flashy prep school, not from a junior team. Like, I went and played juniors in Syracuse. And I'll never forget it. We were playing in the Newmarket tournament at Christmas my sophomore year when Ron Ralston and Ken Martell and all the USA Hockey people came to start scouting me. And same with college. Like, we're playing Aurora in the playoffs, and I saw Zach mentioning this in Aurora, Ontario, and that was the first time, David Quinn with his BU hockey jacket was standing on the glass watching me in a playoff game, right? So
how intimidating that must be.
Think about this. JVR played AA at Brick Hockey Club, then went to the U.S. national team.
Yeah,
that's how good
it doesn't happen. Yeah.
And give the national team credit for looking at a guy and saying, you know what? We don't give a shit where you play. You're just more talented. And that's kind of a lesson. Like, everybody's in a rush to go play here and to go to this academy and go to that academy. And like, if you're really good, they will come find you.
Yeah. Go where you're going to play.
In that. Like, go where you're going to play and play a lot and have an opportunity and have a good coach. I think a good coach is really important, but there's a lot of different pathways for a lot of different players. So
that goes for college too, Colby. Like, you don't need to go to BU or Michigan and play on the fourth line. Go to a whatever kind of, I don't know, like a Sacred Heart, play first line, first power play. And you can still make it in the NHL. Like, we've seen it happen now. It's definitely common now.
I think there's something to be said for environment. Being around a certain environment, I do think there is something to be said for that. But
I agree. Yeah,
there's a lot of good environments, whether it's the USHL, the CHL, the NCAA. There's a lot of good coaches. There's a lot of good mentors. There's a lot of good people. So, I think that all of those things, you can really roll them up. But again, like, just because you didn't make it at a young age, it doesn't mean the end of the line. Not many guys go wire to wire. There are certain players that do go wire to wire, like Drew Doughty and John Tavares, like Sam Gagne, Logan Couture. Like, I'm naming guys that I kind of grew up playing with.
Yeah.
Shaddy, like guys like that. Like, they were the best from 5 years old until they were playing in all-star games in the National Hockey League, right? But there was also a shitload of other guys that weren't the best wire to wire, and they got really good at 14 or 16 or 18 or 20 or whatever.
Charlie McAvoy, he's one of them.
Was he a little bit of a late developer?
He just like shot up, I think, when he was in 9th or 10th grade, and he didn't even remember like his story. He didn't even make the 40 camp originally. I think someone got hurt and he got the late invite and made the team out of the 40 camp, but he was like an alternate invite. So his story is pretty wild too. He was always playing AAA, but wasn't like the best player on his AAA goals team. And then, when he played for the Rockets is the year he really just shot out of a cannon. But I do want to continue with the Canes just for like a little bit, Colby. Because tonight I haven't had a chance to watch them play a full game yet, to be honest. Have you watched them yet in their first 3 games?
Yeah, I did. I saw them play. I think it was their second game of the season. But I watched a good portion of their late night game the other night against San Jose, the game that Brandon Bussi played. And
do you give Bussi that start again tonight?
Probably not. Probably not. No. I think like, again, he played really well, but I think you have to, I did miss, like, I'd say the last 15 minutes of the third period. I made it into the third period. Edu 11 is chirping me.
Are they calling you out in the chat?
But I will say this, and I mean, I'm not looking for any type of participation medal here because I'm not Jonny. I'm not looking for regular season championship banners in my house, but I have been staying up late. I have been watching the late games in the early goings here because I've been staying and sitting at my desk because I've been kind of scouting Michigan State on Instat and kind of memorizing players' names and numbers from Instat. So I mean, from Michigan State's lineup, which I pretty much have down cold. And so on, I have multiple screens on my desk here. So I did have that game on. That was the game where I commented and I said, I'm not used to seeing Carolina give up so many plays behind them. And Jacob Slavin's not in the lineup, so that does make a difference. But in that game against San Jose in particular, 3 or 4 plays in like a 7-minute span, there's guys getting behind them, right? And so you see them give up odd man rushes from time to time because their D are so aggressive coming down the wall. But usually their F3 is so disciplined that they at least have coverage back. But no, look, I think that Bussi actually probably kept that game tight. And then that engine of Carolina just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. And eventually there's too much pressure and too many mistakes for the San Jose Sharks, which is why that game just kind of got out of control.
I'll be tuning in tonight. They play Anaheim at 10 o'clock, so I'm excited to watch that game. Obviously, everyone knows I've been high in Anaheim, so get to see those two teams play tonight. I haven't seen Carolina really yet, so tonight's a big hockey night for me. I'll be doing Leafs after dark, I think, because the Leafs play the Rangers with Zach Phillips. So once the Leafs game ends, I've never done it before, so I don't really know how it works. I've watched Vic and Zach do it in the playoffs, but I'll be doing that later tonight, and then I'll watch the Canes and Ducks. But I was just going to ask
You're
too.
going into the Lions den.
I am, but I was going to ask just because, obviously Carolina 3-0 to start the year, but me just looking at numbers again, like full transparency, have not watched. Like, is it concerning that Svechnikov and Ehlers haven't recorded a point yet, or is that like a good problem? Like, is that a good problem? Right? That's
a good
probably
problem.
A good thing. But Svechnikov is the guy, like another one we talk about. Like, when is it time for Svechnikov to be the difference maker? He had a great playoff last year.
I don't think anybody. I don't think that's who he is. I think he
can be. I think he can be.
I think he is a piece, but he's not the piece. And here's the thing: that's not how Carolina's built. They're not built to revolve around one player. They are a deep team that is built for. Okay, you're stopping our top line. Well, our second line will hurt you. Oh wait, our fourth line has Kakaniemi, Eric Robinson, who's in your face and on top of you, and Taylor Hall. So they're built to not go into a streak where they're going to slump, because they just have such balance and such depth throughout their lineup that right now, Nikolai Ehlers, how many years did he play? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years for the Winnipeg Jets. Yes, everybody, I can count. But you got to give him some time, okay? I know this wasn't a trade deadline acquisition, but you got to give him some time, okay? And I think that, there should be no concern. And maybe they don't find chemistry right away. Maybe they have to break them up, and then, maybe they move Jackson Blake, or, you have other situations that you can move around your lineup. But ultimately, long term, I don't think you're worried at this point, because you are this team that is an engine. They don't count on one player. They're more of a, we continue to put pressure on you. We continue to be patient, and then once you make a mistake, you jump on that mistake. And I'm talking about the D coming down the wall.
Yeah.
I'm talking about how well they reload above the puck. I'm talking about how little space they give you through the neutral zone. And, that is not something that many teams can deal with for 60 minutes without making mistakes. And that's why sometimes Carolina plays these games that feel low event, but they're really just a more patient team than everybody else.
My only point being with Svechnikov, though, I see our chat saying he hasn't been the same after his ACL, or hasn't been the same after OV fought him. But I disagree. I think in the playoffs, even going back to 2 years ago, I was covering all 6 games of the Canes Rangers series. I thought Svechnikov was their best player in that series. I thought Svechnikov was one of the best players last year in the playoffs. This guy turns it on in the playoffs, but the regular season is way too inconsistent for him. He had that 1 year, I think a couple years ago, he scores 30 goals. And I think he's flirting with 20 since. That 30 goal year seems to be the outlier, but I know he's capable. I think, I'm not gonna say I know so positively. I think he's capable of doing that consistently, right? He does have that switch he can flip, but for whatever reason, the regular season, and again, I haven't watched, I don't know how he's looked in the first 3 games, but he's a guy who I thought again this year could come out and score 30 goals and put up maybe 70 points. But to see him have 0 and 3 when the team's winning games, I guess that's good that they're winning games without his contributions. But like at the same time, you want to see him, at his best if they're going to win the cup again, because otherwise Carolina is just the same thing year after year.
Right. Well, look, as we said in our season preview, we will judge the Carolina Hurricanes how they do in the playoffs. And Justin Williams said they're not. Yeah, like you just couldn't be further from what I'm thinking, but that's okay. 10 games in, like no, we're gonna. Well,
didn't we say you can't judge a team till like 10 games? But I guess Carolina's different.
I think when you're if you want to be a really serious and honest evaluator, and you really want to know what you have, like I think you have to wait 10 games. And listen, even talking to Jared DeMichael at Michigan State, who's their associate head coach, and talking to Jay Pandolfo and Joe Pereira at Boston University, getting ready for this game I'm doing this weekend. These teams have played 2 or 3 games. And I'm like, do you know what your team is yet?
Yeah.
And both coaches are like, how can we fully know? We have all these freshmen. We have all these new faces. We've only played 2 and 3 games. You've got to give your team like chunks of games. Maybe it's in college. Maybe it's a 7-game chunk. At the junior level, I'm sitting there going, you know what? After 10 games, when players are coming to me right now and they're asking me what I think of how they've started, I'm like, look, let's get through 10 games and then we can sit down and we can talk about your first segment of the season. Because, if we've only played 8 games, 9 games, 6 games, you might have had 1 or 2 where they were your first game of the year. You might have had one where it was your first back-to-back. And, you got to kind of work through certain things. And that's where making crazy thoughts and opinions about a team after 3 games, or even coaches, they don't know exactly what their team is after 3 games. Like you have a very, very small sample size.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a good point. Anything else you want to talk about before we kind of wrap the show up today? I mean, obviously,
I wanted to give Cam Atkinson a little bit of love today.
Okay.
I know today is the day where, he's re-signed. He's taken that final lap as a member of the Columbus Blue Jackets. And, it's funny, like I actually meant to ask Reams about it, but he had to get going to go to practice. Look, that's going to be one of the things with having JVR on our show this year in a twice a month, every other week consistent spot. It's going to be quick, right? Because he had to get in the car and go to practice today for the Detroit Red Wings. But Cam Atkinson, another guy that I would consider to be sort of in our little friend group and in our circle of guys. And that includes a lot of the guys we've had on this show, Reamer, Shaddy, Nick Bonino. Like it's sort of we're all of the same birth year and we all came up playing against each other. And so I wanted to ask
Chafee loves him.
Well, listen, Cam Atkinson was never a superstar player in the National Hockey League. He was a guy that everybody said, you're too small. From the age of about 12 years old, every year was supposed to be the year that Cam Atkinson couldn't get it done at this next level, whether it was Pee-wees to Bantams, whether it was Bantams to prep school, whether it was prep school to college. Then he gets to college and he's a star at Boston College. And then at that point it was, he's not going to be able to get it done in the NHL. Then he goes to the AHL and he's in Springfield scoring goals, dominating hockey games, finding the spots around the net. Then he gets to the NHL and he has some pretty impressive seasons and has a pretty damn long career in the National Hockey League as an undersized player. So, I just want to give him some love because I just remember our entire youth, everybody would always say, no, this is the year. He's not going to, and good for him for pushing through. Good for him for having the career success that he had. He played 809 regular season games in the National Hockey League. I don't know. I'm trying to grab his playoff numbers real quick. Another 35 playoff games where he had 26 points in 35 games. So this wasn't a guy who shied away. 253 goals, 489 points. 17 plus minutes a night in his career. The guy is an incredible father. He's an incredible husband did a lot of work with Team Foster, which is the hat, and the Flyers Warriors when he was here in Philadelphia. So I wanted to give him some love. We'll try to get him on the show here in the next couple of weeks, once a lot of this noise quiets down for him. But just a classy human being. Parents are extremely classy human beings. Siblings are classy human beings. So congratulations to him on a wonderful career, and one of my favorite guys that I ever got to know and ever got to play with. So just wanted to give him some appropriate love on this show, Johnny.
And I will, first of all, good for you for doing that. Again, I've only heard good things about Cam Atkinson. Maybe he's a guy we can get in our show at some point too. Cause
we definitely can. 100%. I want to let a guy breathe.
Give him his time. Yeah. Give him his time.
I don't want to jump down a guy's throat when he's got so much going on, and he really does. And his family life is everything to him. He is with his kids 24/7, and he's earned the right to do that. And he's made a hell of a lot of money, and he's probably been really smart with it.
Yeah, for sure. I was also just going to address Jenna Henderson, another loyal chatter, saying, Johnny, the Kraken are tied for second in the Western Conference, and we've been two of you guys' best guests. Do we get any love? And that's another team that we haven't really shown enough love to. But I got to watch more of the Kraken before I fully give them their flowers. I know Joey Decort's been playing really well, but I haven't seen enough of the Kraken yet to really talk about them. But as far as the guests go, Monty and Joey Decord, definitely two of our favorites. Unreal personalities.
Great player guests.
Yeah.
And the players do not always make great guests, but those two were definitely two of our best that we've had. Do you know somebody in that market, Johnny, that we can bring on and talk to, and maybe we can take that offline just so I don't say something or you say something and we start yelling at each other and disagreeing, but we can and we will. And listen, Jenna, if they can sustain this, they will become a regular topic in our show and not a topic for us to just push on. So we will definitely keep that in mind, and we appreciate always you guys keeping us honest. And look, we always want to know what you guys want to hear about. And I do see people asking us about Nikishin, saying we haven't talked about him quite enough. Johnny's going to do a better job of watching the Carolina Hurricanes here in the next couple of weeks. And I'm sure it's a long season. We'll have plenty of time to talk about, the work of Nikishin. And I do see the commentary about, him not getting enough ice time and not being given enough. Listen, trust what Rod Brind'Amour does.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that guy, I feel like, has earned the right for us to look at his decisions that we don't agree with and say, you know what, let's let it play out a little bit, because Rod is pretty good about pulling levers. And Rod is pretty good about putting guys in situations to succeed. So I think for now, if Rod is doing something that we don't agree with, we can talk about it and we can ask about it. But I'm not really in a situation where I'm ready to question decision-making and ice time decisions by Rod Brind'Amour, because he's earned the right to make anybody think differently based on how good of a job he has done in his coaching career.
Yeah, I agree. Any final thoughts, Colby?
Just
Bet365.
I'm looking at my notes just to see if there's any topics that we missed. We didn't talk about Utah. I know you wanted to briefly mention them, but we'll save that for a later day. I personally, I don't really care about mascots and
no, I want to talk about JJ Paterka goals in back-to-back games, and they looked pretty good last night too. They dominated Calgary on home ice last night, but squeaked their way to a 3-1 win. But we'll talk about Utah more next week.
Do you see J-Rock? Do you want us to talk about the turnover by Hofer? Do you want us to talk about the right goal? I mean, the Blues were a little sleepy last night. If we're going to talk about the Blues, I'd say they looked a little sleepy last night, and Connor Bedard's pushing around Colton Parayko, and that's probably not a good sign for the St. Louis Blues. So there's your Blues talk, J-Rock.
So let's get into our Bet365 bet of the night. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So download the app and get in on the game. And remember, you must be 19 or older. And tonight we're going to look at the under in the Rangers and Toronto Maple Leafs game. Obviously, Igor Shesterkin right now is on another level, and the Rangers can't score goals. Anthony Stolar's numbers haven't been as good. He's at a .886 save percentage and a 3.05 goals against. But knowing that the Rangers offense has struggled lately, you got to think he'll be able to limit them to at least 3, less than 3. And with Igor's numbers, I mean, this guy, .972 save percentage, 0.76 goals against, got the best goal saved above expected in the NHL. He's got a shutout. I mean, what else can you say about Igor Shesterkin right now? So I'm pretty confident. What?
You should repost your question that you asked Mike Sullivan about it. I thought it was a good question. I think it made him think a little bit more. I think he was really, really careful with how he kind of, I don't want to say he deflected from answering your question, but
I don't think he did.
He gave a pretty big circular answer, I'll call it, based on, what you asked him, because it's a real question. I'm sure he's frustrated with the lack of goal scoring when he's playing the way he is and he's not getting any run support. And so instead of saying straight up no, he started talking all in a circle about how good he is and how well he's played. So I think Mike Sullivan is you're going to get him thinking a little bit this year, John, with your questions. And I can't wait to get more text messages from my friends within the coaching staff about your questions in the press conference.
Are you actually getting texts or no? Because you always fuck with my head and it gets to me.
I like to keep you on your toes about that kind of stuff, don't I?
Yeah, but it bothers me.
That's why I do it. And I really say no more. Well, maybe I have to turn up the heat a little bit more on you.
But with that, like, Igor has shown a lot of emotion in the past, and he hasn't really shown that so far. But curious how that game goes. I always love watching the Rangers and Leafs play together. This is a perfect night, too. Like, the Sabres did it last night. They wore the white jerseys at home ice. Like, the Leafs white jerseys against the Rangers blue in Toronto would look so nice. Like, I love the home white look against, that dark blue on the road. But that's a topic that we don't need to get into. So wrap up the show, wrap up the week, and then we'll talk to everybody on Monday. And I do want to say, actually, good luck to you, Colby. You're on a big assignment tomorrow night. BU, Michigan State, ESPN2, right?
ESPN2 will be John Butchergross and I on the call. We'll have Andrew Raycroft, Paul Caponigri, and Arda Okal in the studio. 7 o'clock Friday night. Yeah, ESPN2. The Detroit Red Wings are playing at the same time, so hopefully people in the state of Michigan are watching the Michigan State Spartans and not the Detroit Red Wings. Although the way Detroit's played, there's probably going to be a lot of viewers on that Detroit Red Wing game as well. So hopefully we can rate well. I think if we do, I think we'll get more games. Like I did an interview with the Boston Globe yesterday, and I talked to Andrew Mahoney, and he asked if the ESPN is going to continue putting this type of resources into the game. And I said, look, this is a business, Johnny, and it's gotta be supported by revenue, right? I mean, we live in a world that you need subscriptions, you need clicks, you need viewers, and you need advertising dollars in order to support financial resources. So if the game on Friday has a big number, then they'll do more games because it's financially viable to do more games. If it doesn't, then they won't. So I see Colton Davies in the chat talking about Ryder Ritchie. I hope he puts on a show. He's a talented player. He's looked really good in the early going here for BU. So with that, Johnny, I hope you have a good weekend. Don't forget DFO Live coming up in about an hour and 20 minutes. Leafs morning take on Leafs Nation. Part of the same family of networks we're on. Then come back over at noon to Daily Face-Off Live with Tyler and Carter Hutton. And then 1 p.m., The Sheet. Obviously a new time this year, but I think people are really enjoying having that 1 p.m. start time. I've seen, there's been tons and tons of people flooding to that show on YouTube. So hopefully that will continue. Zach, I don't know if you're still here with us. If you have an idea of exactly who's going to be on. If you didn't hear Rick Tocchet on the sheet yesterday,
Great.
Obviously still living on our YouTube page for Daily Faceoff, I would highly advise you to go over to the YouTube and listen to Rick Tocchet and Jeff Marek on the sheet from yesterday. That was a great conversation. I think Rick Tocchet makes a great guest on any of these shows. So with that, we hope what'd you say?
He just seems like the man.
He is a great guy. He really is. He was at Dennis Seidenberg's cup party all these years ago. It was like the first time I ever got to meet him in Atlantic City. And you're just like, wow, like I want to hang out with this guy. I want to go through a wall for this guy. So with that, Jonny, I hope you have a good weekend. I don't know what you have planned. You're right. I will be up in Boston working, doing games. Family's coming with me, so my kids are going to get to see their first BU game at Agganis Arena, so that'll be a lot of fun. And we hope everybody enjoys the hockey all weekend. I don't know what the schedule looks like. I don't know if the NHL did anything goofy and has anything weird
I'll tell you.
with the Friday, Saturday, Sunday split. But go ahead, Jonny.
4 games Friday, 13 games Saturday, and 4 games Sunday. So pretty solid.
Yeah, okay. So listen, I get not wanting to go against the NFL on Sunday. I mean, I do get that, and probably college football is probably not great to go against either. So give us a like if you're still here on this episode. Our likes are a little bit low today. We got to make sure that the days where we have James van Riemsdyk on, we're flooding the viewers, the likes, the comments. Leave a comment in the YouTube stream when we end the show. Make sure you get your automatic download set, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Just put automatic on so you never have to think of it, and they're always there for you. If you miss the live, you always have the audio opportunity to go back and listen. There you can fact check us. You can hold us with our receipts. We do love when you do that. So have a good weekend, everybody. We will see everybody back here as we always do, 9 a.m. Monday morning. Enjoy.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Morning Cuppa Hockey here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And don't forget, we've got more great hockey content every day. You can catch DFO live at noon and stick around for the sheet with Jeff Marek at 1 p.m. right here on Daily Faceoff. Until then, keep your coffee hot and your takes hotter.